Do you recommend that people should build a really focused network, really intentionally, or are you an advocate for, accepting connection requests far more broadly and building a much bigger network, but it's perhaps much more loosely connected to what it is you do? What are your thoughts and the pros and cons on that?
I think, yeah, intentional every day, and I was not always intentional at the start. And I think you're quite lucky if you're either new to LinkedIn or you've been on there a long time, but you have a small network and you're only getting going. You have the opportunity now to be super intentional and focused. So I would rather have a smaller network that is more my, ideal client, or just people that are of interest to me. So you don't need to have, like Tony mentioned, like 30,000 connections. You don't need to have 30,000 connections on LinkedIn to get it working for you. You could have 250 people in your network, and if they're the right people and they're connected to the right people, then it's going to be more powerful for you. So for me, less is more. Obviously, if you attract more of the right people, bring it on. I'll happily connect to happily connect. But I think intentional every day is just, it's going to make it more fun for you, and you're going to have better conversations in the DMs. I had a lot of people moaning, oh, I'm always being sold to. And I'm like, well, you're obviously accepting every Tom, Dick and Harry. Sorry to label all the men's names, but, Janice, Jen, whatever, you're not being discerning enough. And I think if LinkedIn's spammy or boring, it's always on you. That's your bad, because you haven't, been intentional enough with who you're either connected to or who you're following. And I think LinkedIn can be fun and highly lucrative if you're connected to the right people. So for me, intentional every day. So the more what interests you, the better. And that's not to say, I'm connected to people that are good people from my past. It's not, I didn't kind of go, okay, I'm not in this industry anymore, I'm going to disconnect from everyone. I've kept the people that I know have shared values, and you never know how you'll help them down the line. But in general, I am discerning now, and I think back to when I first started using LinkedIn, there probably was a lot of accept. Whereas now especially so many people don't send a personalized connection request. I do bring them up and have a quick nosy and kind of go, are you interesting to me? And if you're not, I click ignore, and I don't feel bad, because I think at the end of the day, it's my network. And if you're not engaged with me, you're not going to really add anything to my network anyway. And if you like my stuff, follow me. But I'm quite precious about my connections, because I will give those introductions. So you will get that exposure to my network. So if you're an engager, I love to connect with you. If you're not an engager, I'm like, follow me.
No, I would completely second that approach. I think there's three reasons I would sort of highlight for going down the route of being much more intentional. The first is on LinkedIn, when you post something, LinkedIn looks at how much interest does that create, with the first batch of people that see that content. And so, if you are in a particular niche industry and all your network is in that particular niche industry or related industries, then the chances of what you're posting being relevant and interesting to the people who see it is much higher. And so you're going to get much higher engagement for posting exactly the same content as someone else if you've got a targeted network rather than a really broad one. So it's firstly going to benefit how much your own content and efforts on LinkedIn are seen. Secondly, what LinkedIn serves up to you in your homepage feed is, a cross-section of the posts from your network. So if you've got a very targeted network, there's a good chance there's going to be lots of interesting content in there. If you've connected with just all sorts, then it's going to be, a whole blancmange of content on the homepage. And the third thing is search results. People often don't realize this, but how highly you appear in the search result pages on LinkedIn is a function of how closely related you are to the person who's doing the searching, as well as, of course, whether your profile is a good match for the search. So again, if you have built up a really focused network, then whenever anyone in that particular industry or specialist area is searching, you're much more likely to come high up in the search results because of that focus. Whereas if you've got the same number of connections, but they're just spread across all sorts of different countries and industries, then far more often you're going to be on page 20 of search results rather than page 1. So yeah, could probably talk about that all day, but we seem to both agree on that, Jen. So that's a great point, I think, to draw things to a close.